Hello, I'm David Lockington, Music Director of the Pasadena Symphony, and I want to tell you about the second program that Nick McGeegan, our principal guest conductor, is going to be conducting. This is a sort of an international journey. We're starting with music by Schubert, and this is overture in an Italian style, which I think is very appropriate because at the time in Vienna and in Europe, Italian opera was the rage. People had got used to and perhaps rebelled a little against the seriousness of Beethoven's deeply romantic and stormy symphonies and works of the first decade of the 19th century, and they were turning to music of Rossini, much lighter, perhaps a distraction from the difficulties that they faced during the Napoleonic era. So the overture in Italian style is followed by Mozart's Violin Concerto No. 5. Now, when Mozart was about 17 or 18, he wrote, we know, 5 violin concertos. He probably wrote a couple more, but he would have played them himself. He also played the viola. And this one is very interesting because it's got a sort of subheading of the Turkish violin concerto, and that's because in the last movement there's a rather exotic sounding section that obviously people at the time would have picked up as in a Turkish style. The violinist for the Mozart is the internationally renowned Rachel Barton Pine, who has got a wonderful, vivacious and lively original kind of style that I think everyone is going to respond to. And then the final work in the program is Mendelssohn's Scottish Symphony. Mendelssohn was an extraordinary pianist, and on his first trip to England in 1829, he performed and conducted his own music as well as the music of Beethoven, and then afterwards took a trip to Scotland. And he was fascinated and captivated by the landscape, by the history of Mary Queen of Scots, and we know that he conceived of this idea of a Scottish symphony by the opening which he related to the darkness of history of Mary Queen of Scots in Holyrood Chapel in Scotland. The symphony was actually the last one to be completed, so he wrote 5 symphonies, but it was the third one that was published. He didn't finish it until the early 1840s, so it actually had quite a long time on the shelf before he finished it, but in many ways this is some of his most mature writing and his most intense and passionate writing. Particularly, I think the slow movement is quite remarkable. So a very exciting, varied program of early romantic works that Nick McGeegan is going to be conducting.